Hey buddies, Some Nuts Guy here. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. In this video, we're going to teach you how to make tools like this and how to make weapons like this. That's right, look at that. Very strong. Now, these types of weapons, a side note on these before we get started. These types of weapons I don't think are going to be the most OP. I think they can have a lot of utility. There's a lot of useful things that you can build within here using the equipment forge. However, I don't think they're going to be the most OP weapons in the game. I think a bow and a sword, given the number of enchantments that are available to them, will be the best in the game. So I want to be utilizing the equipment forge and the Lycanite mob parts to build tools or weapons that have purposes, you know, whether they be a primer to hit mobs first and add debuffs, and then you hit them with your main weapon for the big damage, or whatever the case may be. But the tools are really, really good as well. So there's definitely, it doesn't work in creative. So it's definitely worth knowing how to use these things, knowing how to upgrade them, and maybe doing some experimenting to see if we can find some really cool combinations. All right, so this is all about the equipment forge, guys. There are 3 levels to the equipment forge. This is equipment forge level 1. This is equipment forge level 2. This is equipment forge level 3. This is the equipment forge infuser used to level up equipment forge parts, individual parts, to then be used in the equipment forge to make equipment forge weapons and tools. And this is the equipment station, which is used to add durability or sharpness back to the crafted tools that you've created here. So we'll explain a little bit how this works. So if you put in equipment forge into your JEI, you'll see every single part associated with the equipment forge. These are all the parts that drop from Lycanite mobs as a sort of a rare drop for each mob that you can use in the the equipment station, the equipment forge. Sorry. So how do you actually craft a weapon with the equipment forge? So what we're going to do is we're going to make a level 1 Geonox spear. There's a couple of elements, basic elements to understand here. So when using the equipment forge, you start with a base. If you put a base in, if you put base into the JEI next to equipment forge, you'll see all of the individual bases. You'll always start with a base, and then each part you add will add a new slot for a new part. So a base will usually add a head slot and or a pommel slot. Pommel slot we won't get into now. That's if you're creating a weapon that maybe you want to have additional abilities on. A pommel can allow you to add additional abilities above and beyond just the base, the head, and the blade, if you will. So we start with our base that gives us a head slot. Now a head slot is where you start to have to make a decision, because different head slots will add different slot types. So in terms of the slot types, you have blades. You have blades like a cinder blade, that first blue writing slot type blade. You have pikes, slot type pike, so that's the reaver horn. And you have axes, so slot type axe, that'll be the Geonox fist. And you also have jewels, slot type jewel. These are all of the end elements that will actually be the weapon itself. So if you added a slot type blade head, which would be a guard, you could then add the cinder blade. So if you added the wooden guard, you can actually make a wooden guard. That would then allow you to add a cinder blade to it, because the wooden guard adds slot type blade. You see on the third blue writing there, adds slot blade. So that's how it works. So the Geonox spear is a pike, so we need a head that will add a slot type pike. So this steel pike joint, surprisingly, will do that. This will be one of the most basic pike joints that you can use. However, if you want to use, if you don't have steel as an example, because this requires steel, but you did manage to get a wraith skull somehow, right? So this is a slot type head, so it would go in this purple section here, and it adds a slot type pike. At the very bottom, you'll see the bottom blue writing there, adds slot pike. So that would be an option for the head for this tool, but we're going to use the steel pike joint here to keep it simple. And we're going to pop our Geonox spear in the slot here. This is a level 1 Geonox spear using a base rod and a base pike joint. So it has no additional abilities apart from what this spear gives to it, but it is just level 1. So if I mine this, you'll see it's nowhere near as good as the other one. So how do we upgrade these? Well, this is where the equipment infuser comes into play. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this level 1 Geonok spear here. We're going to take this off, and we are going to pop it into the equipment infuser. So each mob part has a certain element attached to it. The Geonok spear, as an example, is charge element earth. You see the fourth writing down on the blue writing, charge elements earth. That means you can infuse it with earth charges to level it up. I think the most reliable source for earth charges are the throwing scythe charge that come from clinkers in the desert. They spawn fairly frequently, although I'll be honest, I had trouble finding them when I went out looking for them in the SMP server that I play on. So I actually went to a desert Doom-like dungeon, and I found a spawner for these guys, and I just camped that spawner until it ran out, and I got enough charges to level up to level 3. Each charge you add will give it 50 experience. It goes level 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, 3 being the max. So you can see less than a stack of, 23 overall clink charge, throwing scythe charges, I think leveled this up to level 3, kind of a random number. This is now level 3, but you'll see we can no longer put this back on this because this is the Equipment Forge level 1. So what we'd need to do is use the Equipment Forge level 3 and obviously level 2 if you're using a level 2 part. So we already have a pre-built level 3 spear, which is what we used there at the beginning. This can go in here no problem, and I can put this in here now because this is now level 3 as well. All right, I hope that makes sense. Moving on to another element with it. So the weapons that have abilities like this will have mana. So this weapon has mana, and it also has durability or sharpness. So at the top it says sharpness, and then below it says mana, right? So how do we, once this durability is getting low, once the sharpness is getting low, how do we fix that? What we need to do is pop it into the equipment station. The equipment station is how we improve the durability of these tools, and it's called sharpness. Certain items have a sharpness attached to them. So if you just put in sharpness into your JEI, you'll get a list of all the items that have sharpness as well as the random enchants, of course. But you see a diamond, this item can be used to repair crafted equipment, sharpness 500. So a diamond will add 500 sharpness back to the crafted equipment in the equipment station. You just plop it down in here, and there you go. We've seen that being refilled. In terms of mana, various things will increase the mana for you. So as you can see, lapis will increase that by 100 mana. So if I pop this back in there and I pop 1 lapis, you'll see the mana goes up by 100. So if you want to know how to repair it, you put mana or sharpness into your JEI, and that'll come up with a list of items that you can use to do those repairs and refills of mana. Now that's the basics of how that works, guys. Now if you go have a look at all the different Equipment Forge parts, you'll see that there's a lot of different cool things that they can do. I think one of the best ones for what we call a primer, a weapon that you hit the enemy with first before you hit them with your main weapon, and the primer will add debuffs. So one of the best ones is the Vespid Stinger. That gives you penetration and poison for 3 seconds. So you hit them, they get penetration and poison for 3 seconds, along with all of the other debuffs from the other mob parts that you can put on. So you can ultimately put on a base, a pommel, a head, and either 1 blade, or the axe blade, the axe guard actually allows you to put 2 on. So you can really add a bunch of different stuff to this, get a bunch of different abilities, really play around with it, have some fun with it, see what you can build, see what you think adds the most value to, your main weapon strike, or maybe even some of these weapons can actually be viable for your primary damaging weapons. I haven't done a whole bunch of exploring and testing with all the different parts, but if you guys have some interesting combinations that you've been trying out, pop them in the comments below. I'd be really interested in trying some of the ones that you've put together, and I think it'd be really cool. If anyone would like me to do a more in-depth video on all the individual mob parts or something like that in future, please let me know if you have any ideas on how we'd want to do that, etc. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. I go live on my Twitch channel almost every day. I'm supposed to take Mondays and Fridays off for editing, but I haven't actually been doing that recently because I've been so excited about RLCraft. So yeah, we've also been running a server. That's a 2.9 public server. You guys are welcome to join. All you got to do is jump on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/somenutsguy, get 3,000 channel points to unlock the whitelist, and you'll be able to join us. Alrighty guys, hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Take care.